And we are so fortunate this summer to have Leah Gowron from the Monterey Institute come and do some very specialized, focused workshops for us. For those of you that were at the panel presentation yesterday, you heard Leah's bio, which for the sake of time I'm not going to read today because we want to get right on with her program. But she has tremendous depth and expertise in assisting graduate students from the Monterey Institute build and pursue international careers. So she is quite knowledgeable, and we invited her here this summer not only to speak to you all, but to do some in-service training with the staff of CSO here at Middlebury College so that we can benefit our undergraduate students even more, calling on Leah's ability. Leah is currently the alumni director for Monterey Institute, having just been promoted to that position from the career manager position in the Graduate School of International Policy Study. So without further ado, I'll turn you over to Leah's very capable hands.
Just to let you know, if you haven't already figured it out based on my wardrobe, we try to keep things as casual as we can when the temperature is over about 80 degrees. If you were actually meeting with me on the East Coast in the winter, I promise you I'd be in a full business suit, looking like I know what I'm doing. But in other words, I look like I'm going to the beach right now because it is just way too hot. Welcome, as Jay said, I had the opportunity for the last 10 years to work with students in the International Policy School at the Monterey Institute. And for those of you that don't know about the Institute, it's a private professional graduate school in Monterey, California. I know it's not Monterey, Mexico. Don't take the wrong plane when you go to visit. Although the flights are cheaper, I've discovered that. And my luggage tends to go there more often than I'm willing to admit, but I hope it has a good time when it's down in Monterey. So I'm here today to find out a little bit of information from you folks, because as interesting as PowerPoint presentations can be, they can also be really boring too. And I would, yes, you're in agreement, you've had way too many of those things, being honest. Please don't let me know at the end if you found it was boring. I don't need to know that. But I really want to get your questions answered, because to me that's far more important than me droning on about what really makes an international career international. So let me find out a little bit from you folks, because I can tailor this differently. How many of you already feel that you're working in an international career setting? Good. What do you guys? My idea today is just to get a little bit more of an understanding of what an international career, let me see if I can run the system, works for. The reason I put up worldwide vacations is that for good or bad, particularly for those of you that are taking time off from employment right now, which probably means you're on unpaid leave, the idea of working in certain locations in the world may be intriguing to you, because as you'll discover, the United States, for want of another word, is pretty mediocre when it comes to its vacation policy systems. And there's a wealth of other countries that significantly acknowledge their employment or their employees by saying, you've worked really hard, now off you go, do something else. So just as something to think about, it is very hard to get Danish citizenship, just so you know. But give it a whirl, why not? All right. Let me ask some of you folks, and just feel free to put up your hand or shout out information. Again, I want to keep this as casual as we can. Obviously, I've given a description of what an international career means, but what does it mean to you? It can be as vague or specific as you want that answer to be. And don't anybody say a series of jobs or contracts that require you to work across borders. Okay.
Maybe an opportunity to work with different cultures.
Okay.
Facilitates better understanding.
Excellent. All folks agree with that? Maybe Turkis?
I should say that I think would include either time living abroad or also traveling.
Anybody else? Other different, more ideas, different ideas? Okay. You've pretty much covered some of the basics. Officially, any individual, any organization that says they have international staff really focuses on the idea of cultures, as one of you mentioned, and the ideas of working across borders or in multinational or multilingual settings. For example, as a Canadian citizen who works in the U.S. at an international school, can't talk and work at the same time, there we go. I absolutely have an international position. I travel to different countries around the world. I use in various levels of mediocrity the different languages that I have or have not acquired over the years. And I certainly represent an international clientele base, and I provide services to those individuals too. So it's not so much about where you're physically located as more what it is that you're doing or the audience that you're addressing. For the lady in the back that was in Peace Corps, you can probably agree to this. A lot of people, when they haven't had an international, a lot of it has to do with children's health policy, aid service programs, or HIV training programs, things of that nature. Again, I can give you some information on that and certainly different organizations. I'm primarily going to focus on the business community, the international organization community, the nonprofit world, language teaching, translation, interpretation, sort of those generic areas. So hopefully that covers a large number of you. But if you find that there's information that's not being addressed and that's really your passion, let me know, and we'll make sure we try to cover some of those things. For a lot of people, having an international career is related to language. Now, you can certainly speak your primary language your entire professional career, and you may discover that no matter where you live, that perhaps if English is your native language, that language is going to certainly be sufficient for you to work, but it's not likely. And most international positions or positions that have an international focus are either a combination of language-based, language-related, or hybrid. So, a language-based position would be a teaching foreign language individual. Your Spanish level, even though you're not a native Spanish speaker, is so strong that you can go to another country and actually be a Spanish speaker, or a Spanish instructor for students that want to acquire Spanish skills. A language-related program, let's see, if you were working at the Defense Intelligence Agency as an Arabic linguist or an Arabic analyst, and your Arabic skills are being utilized in your day-to-day policy work, and you actually may end up traveling to the Middle East with different government representatives as they negotiate different policies or treaties. Your work, again, is language-related, but it's not why you've been hired, it's a component of what you've been hired. And a lot of the things we were talking about at yesterday's panel with the Middlebury language alums, and they were a fabulous group of people to get to know, was we were talking about some of those differences of, is your career going to be based entirely because you have a language, or the language supports the thing that you do all day, and because you have that language skill or a proven experience or ability to acquire other languages, that's a component of the work that you do. So the lady in the back who said you were in Peace Corps, and you said Tajikistan and?
That was with
Peace
Corps Bulgaria, Iran.
Okay, so radically different language areas. So it wasn't like Peace Corps said, oh great, we've got a Russian speaker, so let's send her to Ghana, because that was really helpful there, I'm sure. They were looking at it more in the sense of, your interest areas, your background, and truthfully when it comes to Peace Corps, where do they mostly need an individual to go, and your willingness to go, and meeting all the requirements. The hybrid is what a lot of people end up doing, and that's again where the language may drive the location in the world that they find themselves engaging in, or the types of organizations, if it's a domestically based organization, that they're internationally focused. So for example, with Japanese being one of my languages, one of the organizations I was interested in when I was a graduate student was the Japan Foundation. And the Japan Foundation is a number of offices, but they work representing U.S. or North American interests in the Japanese language and culture. And I thought, well, interesting, it's a hybrid. My language skills would be used, but at the same time, I'd have an opportunity to work on the liaison work or the different activities or programs that this particular organization does. So that's an idea of the hybrid programs. Okay. As I was saying, most individuals are going to find, with the exception of the teaching community or translators or interpreters, that you're being hired not just because you speak a language. The single hardest group of students I ever had to work with was the student that came in and said, I really don't care what I do from 9 to 5, I just want to speak Spanish all day long. And I'd go, yeah, but what do you want to do with this? I mean, what do you want to just talk about what you did yesterday, or do you want to just, read the newspaper out loud? I mean, what is it that you want to do? You have to do something with the language. I just want to talk Spanish all day. Good, you should go be a tour guide or something. I don't know what to really say. And it's not to suggest that wasn't a passion that person had. What we were trying to do was direct that passion and say, the reality is, you walk into an organization and you sit at a desk, if that's the type of work you're doing, and they want you to do something from that point. You have to produce material, you have to run projects, you have to be part of activities or programs or events. That's the doing stuff. Now, how specific that is depends on the types of organizations you're involved with. You may be doing that in Spanish, but the question becomes, what functional skills do you have? What type of work experience do you have? How relevant is your education? And then are you culturally aware? So the student that comes in and says, tell me what job's going to get me hired, or what language is going to get me hired in a job. And I'm like, I don't know, what do you want to do? I mean, if I told you Twi was the language that was going to get you hired, and you don't even know where Twi is spoken, let alone how to spell it, are you suddenly going to run out and become a Twi speaker? If your passion isn't involved in the language, as you all probably have discovered in learning maybe other languages and giving up on those languages. So let me change that, redirecting your interest. Never give up, we redirect our interest. We find other challenging opportunities.